I stayed late at work that night, but it wasn't for work. The reports were open on my screen, but the numbers blurred every time I caught a glimpse of his reflection in the glass between our offices. The clock on the wall ticked past 9, and the building went quiet the way only empty offices do, air conditioning hum, distant elevator chime, the hush that makes every movement feel louder than it should. I told myself I was here to finish the quarter-end summaries, but the truth? I could have done them tomorrow. I could have left when everyone else left. But he didn't leave either. And when he stood by his desk, rolling his sleeves to his elbows, his hair a little messy from running his hands through it, I felt something tighten in me, something that wasn't interested in spreadsheets. I tried to keep typing, tried to keep my head down. But the glass between us turned into a mirror of everything I was trying to hide. Every time I looked up, his eyes found mine, like he was waiting to see how long I would pretend I wasn't watching him. At one point, he leaned against the doorway of his office, arms crossed, just watching me. Not in a creepy way, more like he knew exactly why I was still here, and he wasn't going to let me pretend. My fingers hovered above the keyboard, breath caught somewhere between a sigh and a question. He tilted his head, a small, knowing smile playing on his lips. That was the moment the office didn't feel like an office anymore. The lights overhead hummed softly, and the glow of the city outside the window seemed to pulse in time with my heartbeat. The reports could wait. I didn't want to wait anymore. I should have stood up and left. But instead, I looked at him through the glass, letting my eyes tell him what I was too afraid to say out loud. And he started walking toward me. He didn't knock. He just opened my office door slowly, like he was giving me a chance to stop him if I wanted to. But I didn't move. I couldn't. I just sat there, feeling the warmth of my cheeks, feeling the heat in the air change the moment he stepped in. "Still working?" he asked, but his voice was softer than usual, lower, like he already knew I wasn't working at all. I nodded, but it wasn't convincing. My screen still glowed with half-finished charts, but my hands were curled around the edges of my chair, gripping it like it was the only thing keeping me from floating away. He glanced at the screen and then back at me. The corner of his mouth lifted, that almost smirk I'd seen during meetings when he disagreed with someone but didn't say it out loud. I had always wondered what it would feel like to have that look directed at me, only me, when no one else was around. Now I knew. He didn't move closer right away. He leaned back against my desk, crossing his arms again, his shirt pulling across his shoulders, and I caught the faint scent of his cologne, warm and subtle, like cedar and something darker I couldn't quite name. The silence wasn't awkward. It was thick, charged, humming with everything we weren't saying. I could hear the tap of rain starting against the windows, could feel the electric heaviness of the storm rolling in, matching the tension building in the small space between us. My eyes kept flicking to his hands, to the way his fingers drummed lightly on the wood, and every soft tap felt like it was echoing somewhere under my skin. I wondered if he could see how hard I was breathing, how my chest lifted and fell too quickly, how I kept pressing my thighs together under the desk as if that would calm the restless heat gathering there. He tilted his head, studying me like he was waiting for me to say something, to admit why I was really there, why I hadn't left when I could have. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. Just a small, shaky breath. That was when he pushed himself off the desk and took one step closer, closing the gap by just enough that I could feel the warmth of him. His eyes searched mine, and for a second I thought he might turn around and walk away. But he didn't. And I didn't want him to. He didn't touch me at first. He just stood there, close enough that I could feel the warmth of his body, close enough that every breath I took felt like it was brushing against him. The hum of the office lights was the only sound, and even that seemed to fade under the rush of blood in my ears. I didn't know where to look. His eyes, the faint stubble along his jaw, the way his shirt curved along his chest when he breathed. Everything felt too sharp, too clear, like I had stepped into a moment I had imagined too many times alone in my room, only now it was real, and it was happening. "Why are you really here?" he asked, his voice so low it felt like a touch across my skin. I opened my mouth to lie, to say something about deadlines, but the words dissolved before they reached my lips. I swallowed, feeling the heat rising up my neck, and looked down at my hands gripping the edge of my chair. His hand moved, slow, deliberate, until his fingers brushed mine. It was the lightest touch, but it felt like a spark, like something inside me finally exhaled after holding its breath for too long. "I shouldn't be here," I whispered, my voice barely there. "I know," he replied, his thumb grazing over my knuckles, sending small shivers up my arm. "But you are." I let out a shaky laugh, my eyes finding his again, and the look in them made me forget every reason I should have walked out that door. He moved closer, the space between us shrinking until I could feel the heat of his breath near my forehead, the scent of rain drifting in through the cracked window mixing with the warmth of him. His hand traced up my arm, slow enough that I felt every inch, leaving a trail of tingling warmth in its wake. My body leaned toward him before I could stop it, the pull too strong, too honest. I felt the tension in the air, the way our breaths tangled in the inches between us, the soft catch in his chest that matched the quickening of mine. It was that in-between moment, where you're hovering on the edge of something you can't take back, something you don't want to take back, and every nerve in your body is waiting for the world to tilt just enough to let you fall. I could feel it, the way his fingers paused at my shoulder, the way his eyes searched mine for permission, for a sign that I wanted this as badly as he did. And I did. God, I did. His hand was warm on my shoulder, and for a second we just stayed like that, suspended in a silence that was louder than any words could have been. I felt the heat of him so close, the way his breath shifted the small strands of hair near my temple, the way my own chest rose and fell too quickly, as if my body was trying to keep up with everything I was feeling. I didn't know who moved first. Maybe it was him, leaning down just enough that his forehead rested lightly against mine. Maybe it was me, tilting my head up because I couldn't stand the empty inches between us anymore. All I know is that when our skin touched, even that small connection felt like the room tilted, like everything around us went soft and blurry, leaving only the hush of our breathing and the hush of rain against the windows. His hand traced down my arm slow, like he was memorizing the shape of me through the thin fabric of my blouse. My body reacted before I could think, leaning into his touch, a small gasp escaping my lips that made his eyes darken, just for a moment before softening again. "You can tell me to stop," he whispered, his voice rough, uncertain. But I didn't want him to stop. I lifted my eyes to his, letting him see it, letting him see how badly I wanted this, how long I had thought about what it would feel like to have his hands on me when no one else was around, when I didn't have to pretend I was just another coworker passing him in the hallway. His thumb brushed along my jaw, and the softness of it made my eyes flutter shut for a moment. I felt the warmth of his breath near my cheek, the way he paused, waiting for me to move, to say something, to give him a sign. So I did. I leaned forward, closing the space between us, pressing my lips to his in a soft, searching kiss that felt like a question and an answer all at once. His lips were warm, hesitant at first, like he was afraid to take too much, but the moment I sighed against his mouth, something in him shifted. His hand slid to the back of my neck, pulling me closer, deepening the kiss with a hunger that made my knees weaken. I felt the edge of the desk press into my hip as he guided me back gently, never breaking the kiss, the warmth of his body covering mine, the scent of him pulling me under, the taste of him sinking into me like something I had craved for far too long. Every soft graze of his lips, every gentle tug, every small gasp that escaped me became a promise, a confession of everything we had been hiding in stolen glances and polite conversations. In that moment I wasn't thinking about the reports, the office lights, or the world outside. I was thinking about him, and how, for the first time in a long time, I didn't want to be anywhere else. His hands framed my face as he kissed me, slow and deep, like he had been waiting for this moment just as long as I had. Every movement was careful, but I could feel the tension in him, the way his breath shook, the way his fingers pressed just a little harder when I sighed against his lips. I felt the edge of the desk pressing into the backs of my thighs, grounding me, reminding me that this was real, that he was here in front of me, kissing me like the world outside the office didn't exist, like it was just us, wrapped in the hush of the rain and the glow of the city lights flickering through the windows. His lips moved from my mouth to my jaw, and I felt the softness of them against the sensitive skin there, felt the way his breath warmed my neck as he paused, letting out a shaky exhale that made my skin break out in goosebumps. My hands clung to his shoulders, feeling the tension there, the heat radiating from him, the way he was trying to hold back, to move slowly, even when I could feel how badly he didn't want to. My body arched toward him without permission, a soft sound escaping me when his hand slid down to my waist, pulling me closer until there was no space left between us. I could feel the way my heart was pounding, the way his chest moved in time with mine, every breath shared, every small gasp caught in the air between us. The rain outside picked up, tapping against the windows in a rhythm that matched the pulsing heat building in my chest, the warmth pooling low in my belly as his hands traced gentle paths along my sides. Every small touch felt magnified, every graze of his fingers a spark that made me tremble, made me press closer, made me forget how to breathe for a moment. I felt his forehead press to mine again, his eyes searching mine, asking me without words if I was sure, if I wanted this, if I was ready to cross the line we could never uncross. My hand slid up to his face, my thumbs brushing along his jaw, feeling the slight roughness there, grounding me in the reality of him, of this moment. I want this, I whispered, my voice shaking but honest. His eyes closed, a soft, relieved sound leaving his lips before he kissed me again. Slower this time, deeper, like he was letting himself believe it was real. The kiss was a promise, a slow burn that sank into my skin, making me feel like I was melting under the weight of him, under the weight of everything we had kept hidden for too long. When we pulled back, just enough to breathe, our foreheads still touching, I felt his smile against my lips, a small breathless laugh that made my heart ache in the best way. And for the first time that night I let myself smile too, because I knew there was no going back. And I didn't want to. His forehead rested against mine as we caught our breath, the warmth of his smile brushing against my lips, the hush of rain filling the small space between us like a soft drumbeat of everything we weren't saying out loud. His hand slid down, slow, careful, tracing the curve of my waist as if he was memorizing it, as if he needed to feel every inch of me to believe this was real. Each brush of his fingers sent a shiver across my skin, making me lean closer, my body moving instinctively toward the only warmth I wanted. He kissed me again, softer this time, letting the kiss linger like a promise. His lips moved with a patience that felt almost unbearable, the kind of slowness that made me ache, made every small gasp that left me feel like a secret we were sharing in the quiet glow of the office lights. My hand slid into his hair, feeling the softness between my fingers, pulling him just a little closer when the need became too much to keep inside. I felt the way he inhaled sharply against my mouth, the way his arms wrapped around me fully, pressing me gently against the desk, letting me feel the solid warmth of him, the steady rhythm of his breathing matching the frantic beating of my heart. There was a moment as his lips moved to the hollow of my throat, where I closed my eyes and let out a breath I didn't realize I had been holding. It was as if the tension I had carried for months, all the careful distance, the stolen glances, the long nights wondering what it would feel like to be seen, to be wanted, was finally unraveling with every gentle press of his mouth against my skin. His breath was warm against my neck, a soft exhale that made my skin tingle, made my hands tighten against his shoulders, grounding me in the heat of the moment. I could feel his hesitation, the way he paused, giving me space to pull away if I wanted to. But I didn't want to. I tilted my head, giving him more room, a silent invitation that he understood without needing words. His lips found the sensitive spot just below my ear, and the soft, unhurried press of them there made me let out a sound I couldn't hide, a soft, shaking sigh that told him everything I couldn't say. We moved together, slow, unhurried, every small touch a conversation, every brush of his lips a question and an answer. His hands found the small of my back, pulling me closer, letting our bodies align in a way that made the world outside the office fade until it was just the warmth of him, the softness of his breath, the trembling in my legs, and the quiet storm building in the space where our bodies met. His eyes found mine again, and for a moment we just looked at each other, breathing the same warm air, letting the closeness speak louder than words. And in that quiet, with the rain against the windows and the city lights flickering in the dark, I realized I had never felt so seen, so wanted, so alive. We stayed like that, wrapped in the hush of our breathing and the soft rhythm of the rain, letting the world outside our little corner of the office blur into nothing. His forehead rested against mine as his hands traced small, soothing circles along my back, grounding me in the moment while letting the warmth of it all sink into my skin. It felt like the entire building had fallen away, like time had stopped, leaving just the gentle weight of him against me and the trembling calm that followed the storm we had let ourselves step into. Neither of us spoke, but we didn't need to. The silence was comfortable now, a soft glow instead of a barrier, filled with the unspoken truth that whatever we were before, we weren't the same anymore. His hand found mine, fingers sliding between mine as he lifted our joined hands to his lips, pressing a soft kiss against my knuckles. It was such a simple gesture, but it made my chest tighten, made something in me soften, made my eyes sting in the best way. I let out a quiet laugh, breathless, letting my forehead fall against his shoulder as I closed my eyes, letting myself feel the warmth, the closeness, the safety of him in that moment. We should probably get back to work, I whispered, though even I could hear how unconvincing I sounded. His chest shook with a quiet laugh, and I felt the warmth of his smile against my hair as he pressed a soft kiss there, lingering just a moment longer than necessary. Yeah, he murmured, but neither of us moved. The reports were still on my screen. The office lights still buzzed softly above us. But everything had changed, and we both knew it. And in that soft, charged quiet, as the rain slowed outside and the glow of the city lights washed over us, I realized I hadn't stayed late to finish reports. I stayed because I wanted to feel alive again. And in his arms, in the softness of that stolen night, I did.